Good evening. I'm going to call tonight's meeting to order. Welcome. I'm going to call the school board meeting to order for Burnsville, Egan, Savage 191. Today is May 24th. The time is 6:30. I will ask Director Miller to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. First on our agendas for the approval of for our meeting is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Director Schott, second by Director Luth. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We will now move right into the information session of our meeting. And first up, I'm going to introduce Dr. Stacy Stanley. She is here tonight for a very special scholarship presentation. Dr. Stanley, if you could please come up.
All right, well, good evening, Chair Schmid, Board of Directors, Superintendent Amoroso. It is great to be here with you again this evening to move into year 2 of the No Doors Closed Scholarship. You'll remember last year we honored 4 scholars who went off to college, and we are here to honor 5 more scholars this evening. Again, this is a scholarship that is offered by Kevin and Greta Warren. And it is a scholarship for 4 years. It pays up to $5,000 to cover tuition and expenses. And you'll remember from last year that they have actually agreed to scholarship up to 16 students. And so this year we will move into having 9 students, and then we will continue until we have 16 students, and that will be 16 students in perpetuity. So first of all, I'd like to let Mr. and Mrs. Warren speak to the board.
Thank you all for allowing us this opportunity to give back. I said last time, it's been now 2 weeks ago, how excited we are about giving young people a chance to pursue their dreams, okay? We do want you to enjoy the process. This is a very, very short window in your lives, and we are we're honored to have a part of that, all right? Thank you so very much, and now my husband, Kevin Warren, will speak.
Again, it really is a pleasure to be here, and we're just very grateful that we have been blessed and put in a position to be able to give back and help, and it's been a pleasure working with everyone here, and we just can't thank you, everyone, enough for just the commitment of reading the essays, and it was so many talented candidates. But again, the only thing I want to challenge the young people, as I heard someone say recently, and I know it's a model that Greta and I have lived our 26 years of marriage by, is that, always make sure that you send the elevator back down to pick someone else up. So we would challenge you as you go to school, just in your daily walk, whether it's students, teachers, friends, family, just make sure that you send the elevator back down. So we're honored to be here and look forward to having another group enter college. And I know there are some of our existing No Door scholars here tonight. We're so proud of them. They just finished finals in their first year of college, and I think we owe them a round of applause. So.
So my experience during college was the first semester was rough, getting adjusted to it and trying not to, go out too much. But second semester was where I picked it back up and ended up with like 3.8 or something. So it was nice. So yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Manuel, and It is a pleasure to be here again, and I just want to say thank you to Kevin and his wife for this great opportunity, and that's it.
And again, to the students, we just want you to know this is not money that Greta and I have gone out and done a fundraiser or applied for a grant. We've taken this out of our family accounts, and that shows how much we believe in you. And so you've become part of our family. And we just want you to know that we've taken this very seriously, and we do pray for you all. We pray for them every night, and that you'll be safe, and that you'll be healthy, and you'll be given an opportunity to thrive. So again, we just thank you for giving us a chance to help you, and just we ask that you help someone else. Thank you.
Okay, so now we have the opportunity to announce this year's No Doors Closed Scholarship Scholars. And first, if I could invite Patrick Asamoah up. Patrick will be attending Clark University in Iowa. Next, I'd like to invite up Nivian Moa. Nivian will be attending the University of Minnesota. And next, I'd like to invite up Sangdalavan Novaha. Sangdalavan will be attending the MAC Medical College. Next, Sakato Omar. And of course, last but not least, I'd like to invite Falak Tawakalna. And Falak will also be attending Augsburg University. Please help me in congratulating one more time this year's No Doors Closed Scholars.
Okay.
Yes, it's true.
One, two, three, smile. One, two, three, smile. One more smile. Great, thank you.
Well, what an exciting time. This district is greatly grateful for the Warrens' generosity, and I know these students have already shown great success in our schools and will continue to do great things as they move forward next year with their, post-high school, college careers. Congratulations to all the recipients. All right, next we're going to move on to our BHS quiz ball teams, and doing the introduction will be Director Schatz.
I have a distinct pleasure this evening of introducing a spectacularly popular and successful program that we have in District 191. That is the BHS and Eagle Ridge, Metcalf, and Nicollet quiz bowl teams. Tonight we have 5 teams here, as well as Coach Les Moffitt to tell us about their outstanding year. Coach Moffitt is here with the teams from Eagle Ridge and Nicollet, who competed the national tournament on May 12th and 13th in Chicago, and the 3 members of the 3 BHS teams who are leaving at 4:30 tomorrow morning for Atlanta, where they'll compete this weekend in the high school national championships. Okay, so if you guys come on forward, please. BHS, Eagle Ridge, middle, Nicollet, come on. Yep. Stand here, yep, up here. No, you gotta be in the front. Stand here, yep, go that way. There's a lot of you. So, okay, I'm gonna turn it over to Coach Moffitt and his students.
Well, thank you, Director Schatz. I prepared some notes to kind of talk about our season and share with everyone here how our teams have done. And I'm going to start with Nicollet. Nicollet, like Eagle Ridge and BHS, started this year by competing in the Minnesota High School Quiz Bowl League. Our middle schools played up against the high school opponents. They finished 4-8 overall, which was admirable for a school from the middle school. They faced 114th place out of 134 teams. Their crowning victory was defeating Shattuck St. Mary's teams. Ultimately, Nicollet had 6 top 10 finishes this year and 4 top 5 finishes, highlighted by a second-place finish at the warm-up for the national championship hosted at BHS. And then on Mother's Day weekend, I had the honor of taking 6 of our students from Nicollet to Chicago for the weekend. I took 8th graders Davin Alt, who's standing over there, Calvin Hume, acknowledge yourself, Calvin Hume, Keegan McDivitt, who's not here tonight, Cameron Passon, Alex Stanek, who's not here, and Carter Stewart. Those 6 guys finished 3-5 overall, claiming 157th place out of 192 teams, which was the largest ever middle school national championship tournament. We placed 5th out of all the Minnesota teams at the tournament, and Davin Alt was the team leading scorer, finishing 254th out of 1,000 students. I'll move next to Eagle Ridge. We have a couple of Eagle Ridge participants. They kind of stole the show this year in Middle School Quiz Bowl. They won 3 of the 4 tournaments that they had full teams at and got 3rd place in the 1 tournament that they didn't win. Like Nicollet, they began at the Minnesota State High School Quiz Bowl League. The Eagle Ridge students went 7-5 overall. To put that in perspective, they lost 1 more game as 7th and 8th graders competing at the high school level than the varsity A-level teams from Shakopee and Rosemount. They had the same record as the varsity A teams from Eagan, Chaska, Minneapolis-Kennedy, Providence Academy. They had better records than the varsity programs from Eastview, Apple Valley, Spectrum, Minnetonka, St. Paul Academy, Irondale, Washburn, Orono, Robbinsdale, and several others. That's our middle schoolers. 8th grader. And we have, well, I'll get to that in just a moment. Overall, in that particular high school level tournament, 8th grader Eric Gorton led the team in scoring, finishing 41st in the entire state as an 8th grader against 700 different competitors. And then over Memorial Day, or Mother's Day weekend, I took Eagle Ridge to the national championship. 5 students came. 8th graders Eric Gorton, Alan Habiger, who's here, Jasper Strayer, who's here, August Tinklenberg, and 7th grader John Gettle. They finished 3 and 5 overall, matching Nicollet. They claimed 135th out of 192. It was the third highest performance out of any team from Minnesota in the tournament. And Eric ended up placing 59th out of 1,000 participants. He's leaving Eagle Ridge as the #1 points per game scorer in the history of Eagle Ridge Middle School. So definitely congratulations, middle schoolers. As for the high school team, we competed in quite a few tournaments this year. We hosted nearly 10 of them ourselves. At the High School Quiz Bowl League, there's 134 teams. We hosted the South Division, which had nearly 40. Burnsville had 8 of the 40. We were 1/5 of all of the Quiz Bowl teams. BHS-A and BHS-C teams tied with an 11-1 record for first place in the division with St. Thomas Academy. Our C team finished higher than the varsity teams from every other school in our conference. In playoffs, we took 5th overall and had 5 teams total in the top 50 in the whole state. We were lucky enough to once again visit our neighboring state of Wisconsin to pillage their inventory of trophies. In a weird twist, Burnsville C took 2nd, Burnsville A took 3rd, Burnsville B and Eagle Ridge tied for 5th. We had 4 of the top 5 teams in Wisconsin. Senior Justin Jaspers ended up being the overall scoring champion in Wisconsin. At our South Suburban Conference tournament, we went undefeated for the 3rd straight year, claiming the title. Additionally, our B team and C team went undefeated for the 5th straight year, claiming the JV title. The A team was comprised of seniors Matthew Fisher, who's here, Justin Jaspers, Bailey Picar, and Nick Schatz. Each of them finished in the top 16 overall in scoring, with Nick 2nd and Justin 4th overall, each earning conference medals for BHS. We went on to the state championship and finished 7th. Our C team won the JV state title with an undefeated 10-0 record for the 2nd straight year. Freshman Joe Schatz, who's here, and freshman Wyatt Isaacson were 2nd and 3rd overall in scoring in the state, or 1st and 2nd, in overall scoring in the state. Overall, we had a top 10 finish in every tournament, 12 top 5 finishes, And over Memorial Day weekend in Atlanta, BHS will have a school record, and this will be news to some of the kids, 4 teams, because we had our 4th team called up 2 days ago. We'll have a school record, 17 students participating. There are only 5 schools in the entire country that have 4 teams going to the championship. We're one of 5. Last year, we finished 41st in the country, slightly after this meeting last year, and we tied Wayzata with the best finish out of any school in the country from Minnesota. Congratulations, kids.
Okay, that's pretty impressive. So we want to do one last thing. Is any parents that are here, it's our tradition to recognize parents for the important part they play in the success of their students. If there are any parents of these students here, if you would please stand or wave so that we can acknowledge not only the work that you do for your students, but also clearly the smarts that you passed on to them. Okay, with that, if you guys want to do a little loop here, shake everybody's hand. Good luck tomorrow, high school teams, and well done, Coach Moffitt and all your teams.
Thank you. Good, right here. Good job, very good. Great. Yep. Thank you. Good job. Get in there. Good job. Those shirts. Good job. Congratulations. Good job. All right.
Well, what a great group of student competitors we have there, and good luck as they go to nationals. Yeah, no kidding. Next on our recognitions, we're going to be recognizing all of our certainly recognizing, and some of them are here, our outstanding student volunteers. I'll ask Director Alt to do the introduction.
Thank you, Chair Schmidt. In many amazing ways, our students volunteer throughout our communities. They share their time and talents by volunteering in classrooms, libraries, hospitals, museums, nature centers, vet clinics, and more. They are involved in youth sports, community building events, religious organizations, and nonprofit organizations that assist people in need. Volunteerism is a big part of being a student at Burnsville High School. Through their volunteer service, students become future ready and community strong. We are very proud of the volunteer service of our students. 74 of our students have been recognized for their extraordinary volunteer contributions by receiving a special award. They can't all be here tonight, but several are, and we'd like to honor them. Bree Ostoff, the Youth Service Coordinator with our Community Education Program, is here to tell us more about President's Volunteer Service Awards. Welcome, Bree.
Hi. So I just want to give you a little bit about the President's Volunteer Service Award and what it is. In 2003, the President's Council of Service and Civic Participation launched this award. It's a national award that is recognized, so we encourage students that this is something that goes on their resume even after college, because it's something, to get this award is very difficult, and it's something that is looked upon by businesses and things like that. There's 4 different levels that our students can get. We have the teens, which are 11 to 15-year-olds, so since we have freshmen, we've got 10 of those. And those are students who get 100+ hours. That's what they need to get as a teen to get the gold level for a teen. Then we have young adults. We have 3 different categories, and they're 16 to 25-year-olds. You'll see that we have 35 students who got the bronze, which is 100 hours to 174 hours. And that is an amazing amount of students. When I started, we had 11 students get this award total. So that's just to say, like, how many students we have doing this is pretty amazing. Our young adults, we are for silver, which goes 175 to 249. We have 17 students that receive that. And then for our young adults gold, which is 250 plus, we have 12 students. And to give you a perspective, we have 2 students who got that who earned over 500 hours by themselves. Yes. So that's also, we do it in 1 year's time. So in 1 year's time, they have to get these 100 hours. Many of these students are amazing. They're tracking their hours. They're in my office. They know exactly where they're at to make sure that they can get this award, and it's something they've been striving for all year. So we still have time if you want to get the award next year to start. So the way that I'm going to announce them, I'll have them announced by category. So they'll come up, they'll shake their hands as they go around, and then they'll stand here, and we'll clap for each category so that you don't have to clap for, we don't have 74, but we have a lot. So we have Alexis Bunnell, Andrew Bunnell, Ryan Crawford, Zoe Lewis, and Greta Nelson. These are our Teen Gold Award. You stand right here, and then Ruth will take your picture. Okay, thank you. Our young adult bronze, we have Anna Cruz, Olivia Rippentrop, Sarah Johnson, Sundis Farah, Lauren Jensen, Megan Thomas, Sam Bardwell, Katie Lyon, Catherine Herzog, Crystal Yu, Samantha Simonson, Abby Harold, and Lita Nguyen.
I'm sure Jessica.
For our silver award, we have Falak Tawakana, Marla Kruzmarzik, Nawal Mohammed, Liam Thomas, Aradna Menon, Anna Warmka, Will Trussell.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
And for the gold award, I'm also going to give you the number of hours so you can see the number with the face and realize how much each one of these students is putting into your community. Tatum Fry, she has 254.75. Aviva Liberty, she has 268. Ryan McCondu, 278.65. Amal Mohammed, 288.5. Ariana Driscoll Charland, 292. Chloe Kruger, 301.5. Gregory Johnson, 415.5. And I feel like I need to name the two that got 500. They're at the senior awards right now. But Jake Chedoke got 503, and Olivia Brammer got 544.
Well, I know it's probably a great feeling to give that many hours, but I know the people receiving all those volunteer hours are equally as grateful, and so are we, at the school district and the school board for all you guys do for our community. So thank you and congratulations. All right, next we're going to move on to our 2018 Inclusive Education Practices Award. And so this evening, I'd like to welcome Stephanie White, our Director of Student Services. She's here to tell us more about the Inclusive Education Practices Award for the 2017-18 school year. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. I apologize for my voice, and I'll do my best to get you to hear me because I have important information. I'm here tonight to tell you about our SEEK Award. It's an inclusive award that is given by the Special Education Advisory Council. The Special Education Advisory Council is made up of parents and staff members that come together 4 times a year to talk about topics of interest, concerns, services that we provide. We also partner with our community to have presentations around services or opportunities for students. And it's important for us that we focus on student abilities and inclusive services in our community and in our schools. This year, we put a call out for nominations and collected those, and we had a team of 10 judges that helped us to determine, using a rubric, who our winners would be this year. We had 5 parents and 5 staff members that served on the rubric, and we did this over 2 meetings because we had a snowstorm during one of our meetings. So it took us a little longer this year, but we got the job done. I'd first like to announce the nominees that did not win, but certainly had wonderful things that they did that their peers and parents recognized them for. The first is Alexander Willis. She's a a Hidden Valley teacher in the 5th grade. Stephanie Jorgensen is a teacher at Burnsville High School, and she is a resource teacher. Mrs. Parkinson works at Eagle Ridge Middle School, and she's a language arts teacher. Brianna Meisner is from Edward Neal, and she is a kindergarten teacher. Emily Rasmussen is at Gideon Pond, and she is one of our special education teachers. And a group from Burnsville High School from the Theater Guild. Amy Steed, Molly Holmes, Ann Bakken, and Jacqueline Anderson. So please give all those nominees a round of applause. And so now I'd like to announce the winner. This year's winner is an art specialist in the elementary by the name of Kelly Ray Vo. Is Kelly here tonight? She was going to try and make it, so I just had to double check. So let's give Kelly a round of applause. This week, the principal at Gideon Pond and I, Chris Belmont, got to present the award to Kelly as she taught her wonderful kindergarten class. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about Kelly and the services and why she was nominated, and why we're honored to have her as our winner this year. I told you she's an art specialist, and that she was nominated by Mary Burrell and Emily Goldsmith, who are 2 teachers at Vista View. So not only is she at Gideon Pond and Vista View, but also M.W. Savage. They highlighted the social interactions and friendships that are fostered in her classroom. She provides clear instruction and models all the assignments so that all students are successful. She recognizes different learning styles and nominates an art all-star each day. And when we talked about that with the kindergartners, you can imagine half the class said, I am an art all-star. Very proud of this award that they got from their teacher. All students are celebrated each year, and all students have an art gift, and they know what that is when they leave her class at the end of the year. Students love her class, and they're very proud. In conclusion, I'm going to read a quote from the nomination. Kelly inspires her coworkers, Vista View families, and students to believe in themselves and to hold high standards for all students, no matter their abilities and areas. She is the definition of inclusion, and it is evident in how students and staff and families see her as a teacher. So thank you, Teacher Kelly Vo, for being an exemplar model for us as an inclusionary teacher. There will be a picture or some pictures and a news release that comes out with more details. And so please take the opportunity to recognize these wonderful educators in our system. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Next, for our recognitions, I'm going to invite Superintendent Amoroso to introduce our 191 Community of Excellence Award winner. And I'll let Cindy do the honors.
Good evening. The 2018 191 Community of Excellence Awards were presented in April. This is the third year of the awards, which recognize the remarkable contributions of staff members who are focused on our district's mission of each student, future ready, community strong. Jolene Kump is an award recipient this year in the Excellence in Educational Support category. She was unable to attend the award ceremony, so we asked her to the board meeting so that we could present the award to her tonight. Jolene Kump is an educational assistant who makes sure that each student at Gideon Pond Elementary is welcomed by name each morning and sent home with a smile or kind goodbye at the end of the day. Jolene makes sure that parents know their child is cared for while they are at school by answering the phones with a calm and caring voice. She finds answers for parents and students and often is that important bridge for home to school communication. She is a wonderful resource to teachers about what busing would be best, how to contact different community resources, and even how to keep the copier running. Jolene is the school's organizer for Brain Power in a backpack, which sends weekend food home to students in need. She picks up the food at Burnsville High School each week and distributes it to classrooms in a caring and confidential way. Jolene helps staff members at her school keep the mission in mind throughout the day. Each student, future ready, community strong. Jolene, congratulations.
Wow, what a night for recognitions. Congratulations to everyone who is recognized tonight, and I know there's many more throughout our district, deserving of recognition. Next in our information part of the meeting, I'm going to invite Lisa Wright, our Executive Director of Business Services, up to give a budget update. So we are in the budgeting season, and so I'd like her to give a budget update for the board.
Thank you. So we are in the process of finalizing our line item budget for the 2018-2019 school year. And as we do so, there are a few things that are being modified from the original proposal for budget adjustments. I'd like to run through those quickly here for you tonight. The first one would be that there's a 1.0 FTE related to gifted talented at Harriet Bishop, which will be added back for the 2018-19 school year. And Principal Essay will plan for the 2019-2020 year to ensure the delivery of a rigorous gifted talented magnet program. Secondly, we will be adding back middle school wrestling and middle school boys and girls tennis. Please note that the proposal still includes creating a 7-12 program for the cross country and for dance. And in addition, then, that we will be adjusting across our middle school and our high school sports the fees related to each of the different activities. And so we do have a listing here. So our middle school fees will increase from $80 to $105. Our high school fees will move from $105 to $140 for the areas of competitive cheer and spirit cheer. Olympic weightlifting, which are currently $115, will move to $150. And the high school fees related to cross country, adapted soccer, Dance team, tennis, adaptive hockey, and adapted softball will move from 135 to 175. And our high school fees for soccer, volleyball, basketball, alpine ski, Nordic ski, wrestling, track and field will move from 155 and be increased to 205. Those are the adjustments from what we have discussed previously with the board at this point in time, and we continue to work on that finalizing of the line item budget.
Thank you, Lisa. And just, this isn't an action, this is just a report, but are there any questions any of the board members might have for Lisa as it relates to the report? All right, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we'll be moving into our committee reports. First up, I'll ask for our technology committee, headed up by Director Vandenboom.
Thank you, Chair Schmid. The Technology Committee met Tuesday afternoon. Doug Johnson, Bob Weiler, Lisa Ryder, Dee Dee Courier, Dr. Dee Dee Courier, and myself were present at the meeting. The two main topics covered at the meeting included updates on our plan to exit TIES, the TIES Consortium, that were focused, really the focus was on identifying key areas of technology that may need incremental resources or funding to migrate to a sustainable future state. And in addition, we then reviewed the district's priorities and action plan recommendations that resulted from our comprehensive network audit, network health audit that concluded earlier in the year around February timeframe. So while the TIES situation continues to evolve, the district is feeling more confident that we've identified funding to support the transition away from TIES and are becoming more confident that Sourcewell has the ability to offer some transition services that we feel we will need to meet our district needs with called manageable costing options, I'll call it. So we're feeling, I guess, long story short, I think we're feeling better around the migration away from TIES. On the second area, there were 12 key action areas that were identified by this vendor Presidio or by our district staff as a result of the comprehensive network and infrastructure audit. Each recommendation was prioritized and listed key actions, current status notes, and preliminary cost expectations where additional funding is expected. The district team, in addition to ongoing staffing and professional development investments, the district technology team is proposing sort of a 4-year rotational spending model where use of the technology funding, primarily around hardware would be device replacements, sort of in year 1, let's say the high school, year 2 would be middle school, year 3 would be the elementary schools, and then the year 4 would really be investments around the infrastructure needs, and then we would, I'll call it rinse and repeat after that. So the proposed plan looks to be very sustainable, and we're feeling better, again, that we've identified the key areas that were concerning, and we're acting on those. Many of the recommendations that we could implement with our own internal resources have already been acted on and completed. Other time-sensitive work is either being scheduled to minimize disruptions or is awaiting that 4th year for some funding to move into replacement or refurbishment. Without going into detail on all 12 recommendations, suffice it to say that the district is proactively planning to strengthen our infrastructure and improve our processes to maintain or enhance key systems in support of our district mission and goals. The district will soon be supporting over 10,000 devices for students and staff, and that does not include all of the mobile devices that are already coming into our schools, which is about 7,500 student devices, about 2,500 staff devices. This concludes the Technology Committee report for this evening, unless either Dee Dee, if you have anything else you want to add? Okay. This concludes the technology report for this evening.
Thank you, Bob. Any questions for technology? All right, we'll move to the Policy Committee, which is headed up by Director Ault.
Thank you, Chair Schmid. So Director Schatz, Director Vandenboom, and I met a couple weeks ago, and a very brief report. We reviewed the policies that are on tonight's agenda, and we will meet again on Wednesday, June 6th at 4:30. This completes my report.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions for the Policy Committee? All right, next we'll move to our Student and Performance and Achievement Committee, which is headed up by Director Luth.
Thank you, Chair. The SPOT Committee met on May 2nd, where we had a presentation on the Aspire Assessment Review for the secondary level. We received info on our English, reading, science, and math assessments, which provided comparative data at a district and national basis. This is a program that this is not a state mandated, this is what we use for assessments across our district, and board members are encouraged to check out the full presentation in the board book. This concludes my excuse me. I know that Eric wasn't able to make it, but if Abigail wants to add anything. Okay, this concludes our report.
Thank you, Dan. Any other questions? All right. Next, we'll move to our Negotiating Committee report, and also headed up by Director Luth.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be reading a statement. We have been meeting for a year, and the board committee believes we are at an impasse. The negotiations team, with full board support, is recommending arbitration to wrap this up. We believe both parties see values in their positions, and an impartial decision would be best in resolving this one remaining issue. Both the teachers' union and the district would need to agree to arbitration. But this would allow us to move forward before this fall with a final resolution. For additional clarity to our 191 community, I will provide a brief statement on mediator and arbitrator and to help people understand the difference. A mediator is provided by the state, and their role is as a facilitator in obtaining a settlement mutually agreeable to both parties. An arbitrator is selected and must be mutually agreeable to both parties. The arbitrator will then make an impartial decision which will be binding on both parties. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions for Dan? All right, next we'll move to our Intermediate 917 report, headed up by Dr. Courier.
Thank you. Just like each individual district making up 917, 917 itself has many graduation events happening this time of year. In fact, it has 7 formal events compared to our 3. It adds just a few more pomp and circumstances to my calendar life. Luckily, 917 changed its June regular meeting night from the first Tuesday to the second Tuesday to accommodate this. Because of the leadership transition from John Christensen to Mark Zuzik as superintendent, after the June meeting, I will be sending out the minutes of both the May and June meetings to you, even though they are posted on the website. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dee Dee. All right, our last formal report is our ties report, and that's headed up by Director Alt.
Thank you, Chair Schmidt. This is going to be a very top-line report. TIES and JPA, also known as Sourcewell, I'll probably just refer to them as Sourcewell for the purposes of this report. Conversations continue around the legal concerns, and they center on transition into dissolution and expectations following dissolution. Sourcewell expects to be in charge of TIE's assets, liabilities, and the building after July, given that U.S. Bank is not likely to allow the building to be placed in a new and separate joint powers agreement. This is a change from what had been previously communicated, and TIE's staff is currently determining the impact of this reality on its discussions with Sourcewell. Current TIE's leadership, Mark Wallach and Shanna Finnegan, will have no role in the new TIEs. They are discussing a need at this point for a board liaison or interim CEO, CFO to manage the audit process. Given timing of the discussions and dissolution, it is very likely that member owners, 191 included, of course, will need a plan in place to either empower our superintendent to act on our behalf in July, or to plan a special meeting to approve legal action pursuant to the dissolution vote earlier this year. TIES has scheduled a conference call with superintendents this month to share known facts around the TIES Sourcewell process and answer questions. Superintendent Amoroso, members of leadership, in addition to myself, will listen in. Moving on to addressing the subject of TIES facilities and its sale. Cushman Wakefield is the broker that is overseeing that process, and it's been shared that there's been a steady flow of interested parties in the TIES building, and we have been reassured that Cushman Wakefield is doing a fine job on our behalf. This concludes my report.
Thank you. All right, we also have other board assignments, not necessarily requiring formal reports, but any of those assignments? Director Vandenboom.
Thank you, Chair Schmidt. I just wanted to let the board members know there is an MSBA legislative update webinar tomorrow at noon. And, you know, basically it's going to go through specifically around education, what made it in and what didn't make it in based on the veto and all that stuff. So it's free. And if you guys need to know where to go, like a link or anything, let me know and we'll share that with you. But we're kind of now knowing where we're at going into next year, and so they're going to just go through a summary of that. So if you can join, please join. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that update. Any other updates from other board assignments?
AMSD, and it follows the line a little bit of what Bob said. AMSD stands for Association of Metropolitan School Districts, and in May it always has 2 meetings, because one before the end of the session and one after the end of the session. The second one is tomorrow, and all the meeting materials are on AMSD website. I urge both my fellow board members and the public to check out the website at amsd.org/event and look for the May 25th meeting materials. Among the materials listed there are Governor Dayton's tax bill veto letter and Governor Dayton's veto letter of the omnibus supplemental budget bill and the pension bill summary-TRA provisions. They are interesting, along with the speakers that are going to occur tomorrow night, if any of you want to come with me. But the meeting, remember, starts at 7 a.m. Executive Director Jay Stoffel, who will share an overview of the pension bill, and then Tom Melcher and Adash Uni from the Minnesota Department of Ed will also present. But given the governor's vetoes, their presentation will focus on education-related provisions that were included in other bills. So Bob's point about check out that the webinar, and if there's things that I hear tomorrow, I'll try to get them out to you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Director Luth.
A quick question on the state level in terms of the veto. Had there been any further info come out as to implications of that? Should they not come in special, since if they don't resolve it, the vetoes stay? I mean, there were some pretty important things, as I recall, that were in the bills. Do we have any information on that, or what they may be thinking at this point, or is it too early?
I don't have specifics, but I think that's what they're working through right now.
Okay.
And so that's what, supposedly they're going to be reporting out on. This made it in, this didn't, because there's been a lot of sort of information in, but it's pieces of various bills. So which made it in and which didn't is still a little bit unclear. Well,
Thank you.
it's not to everybody. We haven't read through the whole thing. I'm sure it's clear now, but it'll help us with that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, sure. All right, any other reports? All right, seeing that none, we'll move to the last part of our information session, and Superintendent Amoroso will provide a report.
What I have tonight is a letter that I want to read because it's a good news item, and some of you might be aware of it, but I just received this letter since our last meeting, and so I wanted to share it with you. This is from Federated Insurance, and it's regarding the CARE 11 #EyesUp PSA contest.
and it reads, Dear Superintendent Amoroso, Federated Insurance has partnered with Care 11 each of the last 2 years as the exclusive sponsor on their hashtag Eyes Up campaign. This campaign is about creating awareness and motivating behavior to end the senseless tragedy taking place on our streets and roads caused by distracted drivers. There are unfortunately many forms of distraction. This campaign deals with the use of smartphone technology while behind the wheel of a car, thus the name Eyes Up. We have been proud to stand alongside of Care 11 in this cause as we see firsthand the lives and families that are torn apart by crashes resulting from these misguided decisions. As you know, a key part of this year's campaign was to engage the high schools in Minnesota to help with this cause by creating 15-second public service announcements, or PSAs, that would create needed change in behaviors. Megan Malone and her team accepted this challenge, and they did it very effectively, being voted into the top 3 of all video submissions. And I will add a side note, they actually garnered the highest number of votes of all of the videos. In doing so, in becoming one of the top 3 submissions, it was my honor to recognize them on Friday, May 11th, 2018 at the Care 11 studio with an $1,100 check to be used by your school to continue the fight in this ongoing battle. I am so very proud of the creativity and sense of purpose of your fine students. Education is to prepare our youth for success in their lives, practically applying their learned skills to a real societal issue is, in my opinion, learning at its best. It is reassuring to all of us to see true leadership in this effort coming from our youth. May we all learn from them. Their efforts will make a difference. I am confident that it already has for them and for the peers in your school. Congratulations on the culture you have instilled. These young men and women have represented your school admirably. Please pass on our thanks and appreciation for what they are doing to save lives in our great state. Thank you for encouraging them to make a real difference. And I wanted to read this because it really speaks to our each student, future ready, community strong. And I just want to thank them for their fine work, and I want to thank Megan Malone for the effort that she put in to support them in this contest. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, and on behalf of the board, certainly thanks to Megan Malone, for leading this and bringing these students, into the recognition. So that's just a wonderful honor. All right, that concludes the information part of our meeting. We'll now move into the business part of our meeting. First on the agenda will be our consent agenda. Although board action is required, it is generally unnecessary to hold discussion on these items. In the event a board member wishes to discuss an item, that item will be removed for separate consideration. Do I have a motion, or anything to be removed first? Seeing none, do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved by Director Schatz, seconded by Director Vandenboom. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We will move right into the new business part of our meeting. First on our agenda is to approve the revisions and readopt the unchanged language in the 2017 to 2019 collective bargaining agreement with the food services employees. Presenting tonight will be Stacy Sovine, our Executive Director of Human Resources. Stacy.
Good evening. Bringing before you, again, a recommendation that the Board of Education approve the proposed revisions and readopt the unchanged language in the 2017-2019 collective bargaining agreement with the Burnsville Food Services Association and Independent School District 191. The Food Service Association represents 77 employees. We began negotiating July 10th of 2017 and wrapped up on April 26th of this year. There was a number of language items. Some of them were in response to certifications changing at the state level in which we needed to match up our contract language with, providing reimbursement for uniforms and breaking that up for probationary food service employees. Just some increases for the high school, middle school managers. It's been about 5 years since we did our last job description review for many of our classified positions. That was one of the concerns for the unit as far as wanting updates for what their responsibilities are. The last time that we did job description updates was closer to 17 years. So about every 5 years is a cycle. That's where we really want to be, so we'll be looking at that this year. Overall, the schedule improvement over the 2 years is 4.19% with an increased cost of $158,000 over those 2 years. It's an MSBA 2-year package increase of 5.88%.
All right, thank you. I'll read the recommendation that the Board of Education approve the proposed revisions and readopt the unchanged language in the 2017 through 2019 collective bargaining agreement with the Burnsville Food Services Association and Independent School District 191. Do I have a motion? So moved by Director Courier, second by Director Luth. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, second on our agenda is approve the proposed revisions and readopt the unchanged language in the 2017 through 2019 master agreement with the Association of Clerical Employees of ISD 191.
Okay. The Clerical Unit Association is representing 57 employees. We reached a tentative agreement on April 16th. We had 3 meetings prior to that, looked at 21 different language items. Pretty much just cleaning up some of the language around vacation request and how that's calculated for employees that go from 184 days to those that are going towards full year where they would become eligible for vacation. They wanted to keep that time that they had already spent in the unit to use to calculate going forward their vacation accrual. Modified the longevity amount, updated their layoff language, and there were steps both years, and also, again, wanted to review job descriptions. 4.43% increase to the salary schedule over 2 years. What that reflects is 30 cents across year 1 and 55 cents on each cell in year 2. Added 25 cents for longevity. The 2-year increase cost is just under $248,000, and the MSBA 2-year percentage is 4.41%.
All right, thank you. I'll read the recommendation that the Board of Education approve the proposed revisions and readopt the unchanged language in the 2017 through 2019 master agreement with the oh, I'm on the wrong one, sorry. Let me revert back. I was one ahead, sorry, folks. I'll start over. That the Board of Education approves the proposed revisions and readopts the unchanged language in the 2017 through 2019 master agreement with the Association of Clerical Employees. Do I have a motion? So moved by Director Schatz. Second by Director Alt. Any discussion or questions? Director Vandenboom.
So I have a quick question, Stacy. In Article 11, sort of, and it basically talks through all the subdivisions in Section 2 talk about the number of days. And I was trying to figure out, if you look at the number of days, for example, in a 12-month employee, it converts it to hours. And if you actually divide, the number of hours by 40 hours per week, you end up with those employees are working 52.2 weeks per year. And I know that's not right. So the question is, what's the purpose of hours in that section of the, can you help me understand that?
Sure. When we are looking at, and I'm sorry, I didn't print up all the language items, so I'm assuming you're looking at the layoff reduction section?
No, it's just called miscellaneous provisions, and it talks about a work year. So it's defining a work year, and then it goes through and it talks about 10-month, 10.5-month, 11-month employees, 12-month employees. And the number of hours for a 12-month employee, essentially if they're 40-hour weeks, which I don't think anybody's working more than 40-hour, 8-hour days, says it's 52.5 weeks of work. And so I'm just curious, why are we using hours? Where are they used, and why is it important to have it in a contract like this?
Well, the hours are important, actually, and I will tie it back to the reduction piece, because within their language, they use the number of hours and the number of days in which a person works to calculate who then should be laid off. So if I'm an 8-hour employee within a level, I will be I will have rights over somebody that has fewer hours than me.
But those are defined by actual hours or by basically the positional hours?
Actual hours within their position. So we have to look at the number of days in which they're scheduled to work, the number of hours per day, And then that ties into their layoff process.
Okay. There was a section that talked about compensatory time, but it's not defined anywhere. What is compensatory time?
If one of the secretaries was asked to work an evening, so I'm putting in a 12-hour day.
Yep.
Then I could make up that time within the pay period. So like I may work on 12 hours on Thursday for some reason. The principal then has the ability to let me go at noon. So that's comp time.
Oh, compensatory, okay. That's helpful, thank you. Yep. The only other question that I have, if I may, it relates to overtime. So it's just, it's like a hypothetical. If I'm clerical and I work 20 hours a week, but in one particular week, I really need that person to be working, let's say they work 45 hours one week and the rest of the year they work 20, we're still required to pay the 5 hours even though they're...
For that week, yes.
For that 1 week, so it's week by week,
Yes.
overtime?
Yep, within a 40-hour pay period. So anything that's above the 40 hours, we would pay the 45. And that's where sometimes the comp time comes into play. That's time worked.
Yep.
So within that time, if Monday I was sick or I took vacation day or something along that line, but the rest of the week, then I worked 37 hours for your scenario, I don't get overtime even though it adds up to 45 hours because that first part wasn't time worked.
Okay. Last question, medical benefits, defined benefit or defined contribution?
Defined contribution. The HRA is a defined benefit, I should say. The HRA is the defined amount.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we will move on to approve the proposed revisions and readopt the unchanged language in the 2017 through 2019 master agreement with the operations and maintenance supervisors.
Okay. Met with the three op supervisors, there are three of them, on April 27th, 2018. Just added minimal language around bereavement and extension of that for the family members and extended family. There's a 2-year increase cost of $11,500, 1.5% on the first year, 2.5% on the second. The MSBA package would be 2.97%.
All right, thank you. I'll read the recommendation that the Board of Education approve the proposed revisions and readopt the unchanged language in the 2017 through 2019 master agreement with the operations and maintenance supervisors. Do I have a motion? So moved by Director Luth.
Seconded.
Second by Director Vandenboom. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, next we will move to adopt a resolution terminating non-licensed staff.
Okay. Bringing before you the release of our non-certified staff, which includes a number of EAs and clerical positions. Maybe partial hours, because as we walked through the bumping process for the different units, some of them had the ability to bump a less senior person, which wasn't a full layoff, but there was a partial layoff. That's why you'll see some that are only for a half an hour or an hour, but it is a reduction. They do have recall rights for the EAs for 1 year. Clerical folks have recall rights for 2. Okay. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of Independent School District 191 that the following classified personnel are hereby laid off from their positions effective June 29, 2018. Written notice shall be provided to each employee. Each employee retains recall rights as per their master agreement. Be it further resolved that the Board of Education, Independent School District, that the following positions are eliminated effective July 1st of 2018, which includes the Boz Dean position and the Burnsville Promise Coordinator position.
All right. Stacy read the recommendation, so we'll leave it at that. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Director Alt, second by Director Schatz. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And the motion carries. Next, we will move To item E, in case you're following along, approve the proposed revisions and readopt unchanged language in the 2017 through 2019 terms and conditions of employment for the confidential employees of ISD 191.
Okay. We have 4 confidential employees. Confidential employees are those folks who in one way or another have, that are non-supervisory in positions but have access or are part of the negotiations process. Those folks include Jamie as the executive assistant, 2 of the folks in my office that help with the calculations, as well as our payroll person. And bringing before you a 1.5 increase on the first year in the maximum salary range and a 2.5% increase in year 2. Total 2-year cost is $18,000 with an MSBA of 3.02%.
All right, thank you. I'll read the recommendation that the Board of Education approve the proposed revisions and readopt the unchanged language in the 2017 through 2019 terms and conditions of employment for the confidential employees of Independent School District 191. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Director Curry.
Seconded.
Second by Director Vandenboom. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none. All those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, next we'll move to approve the proposed revisions and readopt the unchanged language in the 2017 through 2019 terms and conditions of the employment of the community education employees of ISD 191.
Okay. We have roughly over 200 employees that work in community education. This ranges from full-time employment, part-time, to seasonal, depending on the, with the type of programs and the time of the year. The positions for the majority of the folks in this positions are at will by nature, and this is a policy. It isn't a negotiated agreement. We're looking at a 1% increase on the salary schedule for each year, with an increased cost of $233,000. MSBA increase would be about 5.07%. We didn't do any language changes except for update the dates.
All right, thank you. I'll read the recommendation that the Board of Education approve the proposed revisions and readopt the unchanged language in the 2017 through 2019 terms and conditions of employment for the community education employees of Independent School District 191. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Director Luth. Second by Director Schatz. Any questions or comments? So I actually do have one, Stacy.
Sure.
So as it relates to community ed, they're self-funded. So is this, it might be more for Lisa, is this factored into their budget already? Is it?
Yeah, I worked closely with Robin Pickle, and she's been working with Tom Umhofer, the Director of Community Ed. They came up with an understanding of what their budget was, what they were able to afford, how that played out, and then from there, that's where we came up with the percentage increase. We wanted to make sure that all 3 of us were on the same page, that this would work and keep them in the black.
Okay, good. Thanks for checking on that. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we will now move to item G, approve on a first reading basis policy 495, staff recognition. Continuing to present for us will be Stacy Solvine.
I hope this will be the last one. Bringing before you a new policy, it's not an MSBA policy, but it is a policy in which we feel that we need, based upon our audit and state statute, that we cannot use monetary gifts for employees, but there is a provision that allows us to provide recognition. This is a safeguard policy to where the board is able to call out specifically what are the specific events that we're going to recognize staff and use district resources for. Those areas include years of service. Moving forward, we are going to provide pins, recognition for those folks beginning with the 10th year of employment, and the 20th year of employment, and then 5 years incrementally after that, moving forward. The other area that we do every year is recognize those folks who retire from the district. We use the AIM Center We have a very nice venue for that. We provide some food with that as far as an open house atmosphere, provide some background music and entertainment, as well as recognition awards for folks in their years of service. The other one, as tonight we kind of experienced a part of, was the 191 Community of Excellence Awards. So the cost that is used for that, for printing, as well as the awards or the mementos that we hand out for that. Any other types of school or department recognition that might come along that wasn't included, those are all pretty high district level type of recognitions. But if something else does come along, it would need the approval of superintendent or designee to move forward with that. Again, this is a safeguard. It's based upon models with other districts that have very similar language with this. But just to make it clean for audit purposes, this is what the board has approved. These are the different recognitions. This is how we use that, and that's pretty much it.
All right, thank you. I'll just repeat the recommendation to approve on a first reading basis Policy 495, staff recognition. Do I have a motion? So moved by Director Schatz, second by Director Alt. Any questions or comments?
Just a comment, you know, I just want to make sure, so Stacy, this was never intended, it doesn't preclude additional forms of recognition, but it does kind of just put some boundary conditions around the recognitions and formally recognizes some key ones, right? So
It establishes our framework, the ones that we are going to do. The board can revisit. It's like if we come up with something else that we say, you know what, we feel that this is really important, that the board wants to recognize, we're going to use some district resources for that. I would recommend that if it's at a district level, we modify our policy. If it's at a building or department level, it goes through the approval process.
Yep. But we did have some conversation. We wanted to make sure that this was not intended to in any way preclude or prevent additional recognitions.
Right.
It just kind of sets the groundwork for funding of those things
Right.
and so forth. So thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? And the motion carries. All right, that carries us to our second last item, item H, approve on a first reading basis changes to policy 709, student transportation safety, 806, emergency operations. Up on the stage here will be Lisa Ryder, our Executive Director of Business Services. Lisa?
Thank you. We'll walk through 709 quickly first. There's just a few themes I want to point out in the modifications to the student transportation safety policy. Primarily, language was adjusted for the inclusion of our early childhood students, as well as the changes to our grade configuration. And that you can see on 709-2 page. 709-1. 709-2 has some changes with regard to our the language for drivers training instructional classes, as we don't offer those directly through the school district, so we struck that. On 709-3, we want to align our language so it's very familiar or aligned with the PBIS that is taught in our schools. And that's positive behavioral enforcement system that we have, and so we want to make sure that that is aligned, and our signage in the buses are aligned as well. On 709-4, under consequences, there is a added reference to our student handbook, so we can make sure we're aligned at all times with that which the handbook reads, versus what we had in our previous policy. And I believe, I'm just going to page ahead a little bit, I think that's the majority of the changes to 709. There was a slight change on 709-10, which aligns with state statute. That was proposed by MSBA. And I believe that's everything. At the very back, at 709-16, we are breaking out a little bit more just the items that the Transportation Safety Director would report on. And so we're looking for this to come to you as a board in the fall as a routine report that would align with what it is that's needed to be reported on. And we did strike the language with regard to a Transportation Safety Committee. We always have the right to gather a committee should we need to, but we already have in place an informal process to gain input and ideas around safety and security for our schools. So we felt that was appropriate, as well as for transportation needs. So
All right.
That's 709.
All right.
Would you like me to continue?
Yes, I would.
All right, so 806 then is with regard to our emergency operations policy. And this policy is laid out by MSBA to be, it's intended to lay out the elements that you would include in an emergency operations plan. And we have included these same elements within our emergency operation plan. There's just a few changes that were reflective of our process that you'll see throughout this policy. Otherwise, everything is pretty much as it was previously. That concludes my
All
summary.
right. I will read the recommendation when I get out of the policy. Yeah. Bear with me. At least I think I will. There we go. Recommendation is to approve on a first reading basis changes to policy 709, student transportation safety policy, and 806, emergency operations policies. Do I have a motion? So moved by Director Schatz, second by Director Courier. Any comments or questions? Director Luth.
Yes, in, make sure I get this right, section 2B, big B, little.
Policy.
Oh, I'm sorry, the emergency operations,
All right,
thank
thanks.
you. I'm sorry. The 806, it's the part where it talks about communication procedures.
So section 2, letter B.
Little e?
Oh, little e, okay.
Well, B, yeah,
Yeah,
big B, little e.
communication procedures, I see it,
All
yeah.
right. Towards the end of it, it says, communication following an emergency is also important. The following action should be taken as appropriate after a crisis: letter to parents, media release, staff meeting, incident documentation, and report to the school board. Question I have is, would it be correct that whenever any of those actions, such as letter to the parent, media release, whether it was a real emergency or a false emergency or whatever, but when we're actually communicating out to the public, would it be true then that the school board would always receive some kind of report?
Who are you asking that of? I assume not me.
No, not you. I'm looking at the
You're
superintendent. I'm
meaning
looking
a
at the-
report with regard to what has been communicated?
Well, it just talks about communication procedures. And so I'm putting a hypothetical out there that, to understand what this report to school board means. Now, if we had a significant emergency going out there, I'm pretty confident, but how far down does that go in terms of, and I'm just saying, is there any kind of tie-in that if parents in particular are receiving an email or a letter sent home or whatever, is it normal practice then that the report, that would also get reported to the school board so that we're aware of that?
Go ahead.
We have been communicating with parents on any number of more minor emergencies that I try and let you know about those when those occur. The reason we're doing that is so that if there is an ambulance and police cars at a school during the day, a student goes home or a parent drives by, they're not wondering and they're not maybe making assumptions that there was a more serious incident than what it was. We have many incidents of students with asthma attacks. There may be a mental health crisis. There may be, a medical kind of an emergency where we can't reach a parent, or we reach a parent and they say, please call an ambulance, whatever that might be. So those, we have taken the tack of making sure we over-communicate to our parents to let them know when those more minor things or things that are incidental to just one or two students. This policy is more about those bigger crisis situations, in which case you would probably be part of the communication throughout the entire crisis, getting updates, and the report would only be sort of a summative at the end that would actually probably include reflection and debriefing, reflection from the debriefing at the end. Does that get at what you're asking?
Yep, thank you. I'm good, thank you.
All right, any other questions, comments?
Well, I just wanted to speak to Dan's comment, because we went, in the committee, there was a little bit of conversation around the same sort of thing, and the fact that it's after, we didn't want to prevent communications during a crisis, so it's pretty clear that these are communications after, and so I think we felt comfortable because you know, we weren't preventing or slowing anything. We were more concerned about the language putting us in the middle and slowing something down in a crisis, and that's not here. So that was my main concern there.
That's why I'm pointing out this was a
Yeah.
crisis. It clearly states that, but I
Yep.
just wanted to get a little clarification on what that means. Okay, thank you. I'm good.
All right, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, we will now move on to approve the proposed revisions and readopt the unchanged language in the 2017 through 2019 terms and conditions of employment for unaffiliated employees of ISD 191. Presenting that will be Superintendent Amoroso.
Thank you. I'm bringing to you the proposed terms and conditions of employment for unaffiliated employees of Independent District 191. There are currently 44 unaffiliated specialists and confidential supervisory employees. The terms are reviewed and updated on a biannual basis. This is a 2-year contract I'm bringing to you. Positions under these terms are considered at will unless a state license is specifically required under statute. Employees under the terms receive salary packages in alignment with comparable positions in other units and are in compliance under state pay equity regulations. There are 2 items that we would call major, but they're really clarifications. The first one is providing clarity on approved duty days. And the second one is realigning tuition reimbursement language for all tiers. We did not add any tuition reimbursement, nor did we change the dollar amounts in that. It was just a little bit unclear who was getting it, and so we just clarified that language. Economic terms include a total of 1.5% and 2.5% increase on the 2017-18 and 18-19 maximum salary ranges. The increased total cost is $173,000, and the 2017-19 MSBA increase for salary and benefits would total 3.07%. The recommendation then is that the Board of Education approve the proposed revisions and readopt the unchanged language in the 2017-19 terms and conditions of employment for the unaffiliated employees of Independent School District 191.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for the?
So moved.
Moved by Director Alt, second by Director Courier. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that will conclude our meeting. I will take a motion for adjournment. So moved by Director Schatz.
Seconded.
Second by Director Vandenboom. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned.